Let's talk about Microsoft. For nearly 50 years, this is a company that hasn't just built software, they've basically architected the modern world we live and work in. So that brings up the big question, right? How in the world does a project from a couple of kids in a dorm room explode into a $3 trillion global empire? I mean, we're talking about a company worth more than the entire economy of many countries. So let's find out.
Just look at this contrast. On one side, you've got the then. Just two young guys, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, completely geeking out over the idea that computers could be for everyone. And then you have the now, one of the most powerful, influential companies in all of human history. It's a wild journey. And let's just try to wrap our heads around that number for a second. Over $3 trillion. That's what Microsoft is worth today. It's a figure so massive it almost feels made up, But it's the result of the incredible story we're about to walk through.
It all starts right here. Two kids and one massive dream. The year's 1975, and the world of computing was about to get a major shakeup. And wouldn't you know it, Gates and Allen were right there, ready to light the fuse.
And this was the spark. The Altair 8800. It shows up on the cover of Popular Electronics. Now, for most people, it was just a weird hobbyist kit. But for Gates and Allen, it was like a lightning bolt. They saw, instantly, that the real gold wasn't in the box itself, but hardware. Nope, it was in the software that would make these things actually do something.
And this quote right here, it just shows you the level of pure audacity they had. They literally called up the company that made the Altair and said, "Hey, we've got the software for your machine." The reality? They hadn't written a single solitary line of code. It was a huge bluff. But that high-stakes gamble forced them into a coding marathon, and what came out of it was Microsoft.
So that initial success got their foot in the door, and it led them directly to their next huge opportunity. A deal so pivotal, so legendary, that people still call it the deal of the century. This wasn't just another contract. It was the bedrock of an entire empire.
Okay, so check out this masterstroke. IBM, the biggest computer company in the world, needs an OS for its new PC. Microsoft, this tiny little startup, doesn't actually have one. So what do? They go buy a simple OS, rework it, and rename it MS-DOS. But here it is, the most important part. Look at step 4. They didn't sell it to IBM. They licensed it, but kept full ownership. That meant they could sell it to everyone else making IBM-compatible PCs. Boom! An instant software monopoly that would define the next 20 years.
So, with MS-DOS printing money for them, Microsoft was ready for its next big act, making computers easy for everybody to use. No more typing commands, we're talking point and click. This was the dawn of the Windows era.
And man, did it happen fast. Windows 1.0 was, well, it was a start. But by 1990, Windows 3.0 was a huge commercial hit. And then came Windows 95. This wasn't just an update, it was a genuine cultural phenomenon. That famous start button, the user-friendly design, it made Microsoft a household name and put a PC on pretty much every desk in the world.
But their strategy was so much bigger than just the OS. They cleverly bundled Word, Excel, and PowerPoint together into Microsoft Office, creating this incredibly powerful ecosystem. If you needed to do work, you needed Office. And if you needed Office, well, you needed to be running Windows. It was a brilliant and, let's be honest, pretty ruthless lock-in. But you know what happens when you have that kind of total dominance? You get a massive target on your back. At the absolute height of its power, the Microsoft empire faced its greatest trial, one that threatened to tear the whole company apart.
And this really shows you the two sides of that coin. On the left, a company at the absolute peak of its powers, and on the right, the fallout. By bundling Internet Explorer with Windows for free, they weren't just competing, they were completely crushing the competition. The government saw this as an illegal monopoly, and the antitrust lawsuits that followed were a very real threat to dismantle the entire empire.
So after all those legal battles, Microsoft kind of stagnated. They got slow. The PC era was fading, and they desperately needed a radical reinvention. That came in the form of a new CEO with a bold new vision.
When Satya Nadella became CEO in 2014, he brought a whole new philosophy, and this quote says it all. He knew Microsoft couldn't just coast on its Windows legacy. The future was about collaboration, being open, and above all else, the cloud. And this chart just shows the stunning result of that pivot. Just look at the slice for Windows. What was once the heart of the empire is now just a fraction of their revenue. The largest piece? The cloud, powered by Azure. Nadella didn't just save Microsoft, he essentially built a brand new company.
So after 50 years of these soaring highs and near-fatal lows, what can we really learn from this journey? What are the core principles that allowed this company to not only survive, but to keep thriving?
So what's the playbook? Well, it's all right here. Build platforms, not just products. That's the story of Windows and Azure. Form key partnerships early, and don't fear bold moves. That was the MS-DOS deal with IBM in a nutshell. But the most crucial lesson of all, reinvent yourself continuously. That is the core story of Microsoft's survival and its enduring success.
So we're left with this question. Microsoft defined the PC era, then completely reinvented itself to lead the cloud era. Now as they pour billions upon billions into AI, we have to ask ourselves, what future are they building for us next?